Crispy Chats of the Week. We spoke to Soha Ali Khan. We also spoke to her about the recent attack on Saif Ali Khan. Of course, the Pataudi Cup's retirement announced by BCCI, how exactly the family reacted to it, and how exactly did she don the role of an antagonist, especially in a horror film, Chori 2. Take a look at what she has to say. So hi everyone, speaking to this episode of Page 3 on News 9 for Chori 2 is Soha Ali Khan. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Soha. Looking at
Thank you
you
so much.
through the posters again after a long time, and that too in a very different avatar, and it's very intriguing. Tell us more about the kind of role that you will be playing in Chori 2.
I am playing the horror in a horror. So it's very exciting for me because I never really thought I would get cast in this kind of role. I've usually played girl next door, royal, good girl, sweet type characters. And here I've had an opportunity to, I think, really explore darker sides that probably do exist in my personality. I think all of us have darker sides. But this was really a chance for me to get into that, try out new expressions. And a lot of people ask me, what am I doing all these workouts in the gym for? I really didn't even realize it. The core strength that you need to have the supernatural strength that my character does is a lot. To do a horror can actually, to be a monster can actually be very, physically very tiring.
So did you go through some of the characters, maybe some other movies that you must have watched to sort of get yourself into that role?
No, they were actually, my director had a very clear vision. He said, हमारा जो idea है भूतों को लेके, चुड़ैलों को लेके बॉलीवुड में वो बहुत ही एक stereotypical बाल खुले साड़ी पहन के या उल्टे पैर वाले जैसे डायन टाइप के roles है. I want to do something that is a little different. I was like, okay, what? And then he showed me some pictures and I was like, okay, this is like really different. And he said, we'll try it and, you just trust me. So I was like, but I've literally just met you, and how do I trust you? And I had seen Chori 1 and I did feel like, okay, Vishalsa has a sense of storytelling and creating an ambience and an atmosphere. And okay, let me trust him. And I trust our producer who I've worked with before. We've done Hush Hush together, Vikram Malhotra and myself. So I was like, okay, this is something that I think I can take a risk with and then hope for the best.
Right. And like I said in the introduction, that I'm looking at you through a poster after a very long period of time. I know for a fact that you are extremely selective with the kind of role that you want to play. You go slow with that. So, what drew you towards Chori 2? Why did you come on board with this particular project?
I mean, yes, it's true that I'm selective, but I also don't get offered a lot of like amazing roles that I would jump on. You can only say yes to what you're offered. And I felt like what I was being offered was not exciting enough for me to leave home because I really enjoy being home. And there's some really nice people at home that I like my husband and my daughter. They're lots of fun. And, now actually they are very busy. And now I feel like, okay, maybe I need to think a little bit more about how to get good roles and the kind of roles that I would like to do. Or you see someone on screen and you're like, oh, this is something that I would like to do. Up until now, I've been very happy with the balance that I have in my life between work, whether that's writing or producing. Now I'm working on doing a podcast as well, or acting. And then you can be very busy, as I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this will relate to, in just running a house. In fact, I feel like it is more time consuming, more challenging when I'm at home. My mind is doing 50 things. When I'm at work, I'm only doing one thing. When I'm at home, I'm doing 50 million things and I find it very difficult. So actually going to work is a stress buster. So I am selective, but as I said, I only choose from what I'm offered. And this was something that the visual appeal of my character being presented in this avatar, in this slightly monstrous look, which I feel is very impactful. I thought I would enjoy that. I would enjoy being on a hoarding looking like this. And thankfully, no regrets.
I want to ask you with regards to Chori 2, because it's a horror project. Horror is a very rare genre in Indian scenario, if I could say. Or if I could say, we have very less good projects in terms of the horror genre. So when you first got to know that this project will be coming out on OTT again for the second part also, even after having the first hit franchise, Did you not think, and after going through the comment section, of course, on YouTube, as far as the trailer is concerned, did you not think that this would have been a better project on screen for the bigger audience?
I did think it was a better project on screen, although I do understand that with a theatrical release comes a lot of other pressures, a huge budget that gets allocated to marketing and promotion of that, distributing of that, and then the numbers that people are obsessed with on like the opening day. You need to make like 100 crores over the weekend, otherwise you're not worth talking about, etc., etc. So I feel like that is more the producer's call than my call. There must be certain reasons and a certain process that they must have gone through before making this decision, and I leave that to them. What gives me as someone who consumes horror content and films, I do love the magic of going to the cinema, and I do understand now with technology, people really actually think before they go to the cinema. And one of the things that takes you to the cinema is horror, because it's not typically something that you might watch at home. But having said that, I do feel a that this film, which I have seen on a screen like a television screen at home, still has that impact. I would just say don't watch it on your smallest screen. If you have a phone and you have a TV, please watch it on the TV. Don't watch it on the phone, because I think the bigger screen that you have, the more impactful, and the best sound system that you have, the more impactful the film will be. And maybe, if enough people appreciate it, like it, and ask for it, we've seen films and we've seen things have a second life and come to the theaters. It all really depends on the audience. Actually, most of these decisions are made on the basis of an audience response.
Right. But there also comes a sort of a stereotype or maybe a taboo related to the remakes. And this one is also a remake of the Marathi film, be it from the same director, of course. But I would say that this is one of the risk factors. So, what were your thoughts when you got to know that you will be working for a remake, which might not go well with the Marathi audience who might have already seen the first and the original version?
So, luckily, Chori 2 doesn't have that, because Chori 2 has not been made into a Marathi film before this. Yes, Chori 1, I think Vishal wanted it to have a wider audience than the Marathi film, and he thought that if he makes this because it got such a good response, especially from women, he said, I would like to take this into a broader circle. And what has happened with Chori 2 is that he feels now, just in Hindi, he can there was no need to make the Marathi film before this. So it doesn't have that sense. It's a completely different story. It takes the characters forward, the character of Sakshi and Ishani, who is, unborn in part one, but she's her child in part two. It's their story that goes forward, but there's no original other story to compare it to for anyone.
Right. That's really interesting. And let me now divert the attention a little bit towards Soha Ali Khan. I am really curious to ask you what really are the perks of being moderately famous, Soha?
There are many. For one, like, it's moderately famous is somewhere between being very famous and being unknown. I think that being unknown must also have its perks, and like every situation has its advantages and disadvantages. But of course, with being recognized comes an element um, of access, an element of privilege, an element of not having to pay for stuff. Going to restaurants and not having to pay the bill, getting bookings. People looking after you, giving you lots of presents, inviting you to fun stuff, giving you free clothes. All of that comes along with it. But there's a loss of anonymity, of course, that comes with being a name. And a lot of people, I think, feel like that's not such a big deal, to not be, to be recognized all the time can't be such a bad thing. But I think that it's only when you walk in those shoes as someone really famous, who would actually not be able to go on holiday or have moments of privacy. And privacy is very, very sacred to me. My alone time is very sacred to me. Imagine somebody constantly taking pictures of you every time you go out, dissecting you, the way you look, how many wrinkles you have, how you parent, what your child is doing, what you're wearing, when you put on weight, whether you put on too much weight when you were pregnant, whether you didn't put on, like, people have views on everything, especially if you're a woman. So I feel like it is nice to be in the middle, where you have all the access, especially if you're related to super famous people. You get all the access without any of those without the cons.
Hmm. And now touching back and speaking about how you navigate the real life characters on a daily basis, because like I've already said, you're a mother, you're a sister, you're an actor, you're a businesswoman, you have written a book for yourself as well, etc., etc. There are a lot of things that you have already done. When does it actually become challenging? And how do you tackle out that pressure of being everything but yourself at the same time?
But I mean, that is a question I could ask you as well. I mean, this is, I think, what every woman really deals with because we all wear so many hats. I feel one of the most difficult things to manage is relationships. How to be everything to everyone. Especially when you get married, you want to be the best wife, you want to be the best mother, you want to be the best daughter, you want to be the best sibling. It's not possible. You can't be everything to everyone at the same time. Which is why we feel guilty all the time. We're like, Arey, I can't be there for that, I can't be there for that, I can't be there for that. And some people put more pressure on themselves than others. Then comes the work guilt. There's not going to work is a guilt. Going to work is also a guilt because as a modern woman, the expectation that you should be setting is that I go to work, I make my own money, I am independent, I'm ambitious. But on the flip side is that you miss out on so much at home, especially when you're a parent. You may not see those first steps. Your daughter may confide in someone else over you. It's very complicated actually. Which is why I felt like when I'm at work, especially with the kind of work that we do, I'm at peace because I know I can't be anywhere else and I need to focus. And that's when I've delegated. I've said, you need to look after Inaya. You need to, if my mother calls, you need to do this. I'll lean on my family. I'll say, Kunal, I need you to do this right now. I have a wonderful nanny, Rashmi Didi. Rashmi Didi is my lifeline. She's there for my daughter if I'm not there. So these are the people who help me. So I think the important thing is to delegate, understand you can't be at all places at one time and you can't do everything. And it's okay to slip up. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to want things that other people feel, even if it's to be a parent or to be a homemaker. It's okay to want that. It's okay not to want to be a mother and say, I don't have that. I don't want that. It's okay not to want to get married. You have to identify what it is that makes you happy. And then hopefully, because it's easy to say you should be able to have the dream and work towards it. It only happens when you're surrounded by people who help you achieve that dream. You can't be the only one fighting for it. Everybody needs support.
Absolutely. And your family has a legacy to follow, Soha. And when I speak about legacy, there was a very symbolic thing to your family, which was the Patodi Cup. And recently, BCCI did an announcement. So, how did the family feel when the announcement came into the picture?
I think my mother's already given a comment that she was disappointed and that she was hurt. I feel, of course, I think my response will be more emotional as a daughter, who uh, I felt that my father made an immense contribution to cricket. And what I feel is that, of course, cricket as a sport will evolve and the format of the game will keep changing, trophies will change, competitions will change. But why I feel like the trophy should continue is because I feel that we must respect and honor the contributions made to the sport by people like my father, because I do feel his contribution as a captain was immense in terms of at a time where there was perhaps not a sense of playing for India. He brought that sense of unity and team spirit of you're not playing for Hyderabad, you're not playing for Delhi, you're playing for India. He led India to its first overseas test victory in New Zealand. And also my contribution, which is also, his name is also Patodi and part of the Patodi Trophy, was that he had the rare distinction of being the only person to play for England pre-independence and India post-independence. So there's a genuine connection with England. And this is a trophy that honors that competition that takes place in the summer between England and India. So it was a natural fit. So I feel to discontinue that or to retire that is disappointing. But having said that, it was something that the BCCI started in conjunction with ECB. There must have been a reason again for them to have made that decision. And I'm hoping that if they can't be convinced to continue it, that they will do something else. to honor my father's contribution to the sport.
And the family again had to go through a very somber moment, Soha, a couple of months back when Saif were actually attacked. And this is not only because you are Saif Ali Khan's sister, but you are also an actress, and you also used to walk through that lanes, and that too without thinking about anything. Mumbai is your city. We do spot celebrities walking down the lanes freely, not thinking about their safety. How did the things change after that?
I don't know if people know this or not. Some people do. Was that 10 years ago, my own house was broken into.
Yeah.
And luckily, Kunal was there.
Hmm.
And he and the would be thief got into an altercation and they fought. And he managed to capture the thief and took him to the police station. And this thief was arrested. So I feel that these things happen. You know, it is odd for my mother to have had two of her children's homes broken into by a thief. I think it is unfortunate. I think that my brother's spoken at length about it also in interviews. We just feel that these situations can turn. And of course, in his case, it did turn violently, but it could have been worse. So, what we are left with is truly a sense of feeling grateful that he's okay and that he was not grievously injured beyond a point. I mean, he was not injured in a permanent way, and that he was able to make a full recovery, and that, you know, he's back to work and everything he enjoys now. So that's what we focus on.
How do you balance out the trolls, if there are any? Because I don't think there would be any trolls in your life. People love to watch you, they've been loving your work. But if not about you, if you have seen other people being trolled, how do you think about online trolling? Do you think it has, raised to several folds in last couple of years? Maybe after COVID, because everybody is there on phone now.
No, I think that there is. Firstly, my response, I'm not so affected by it because I feel like to write a comment anonymously to someone is not really much. Like it takes no courage to speak up when you're not putting a face to a name or nobody knows who you are. It's a one-way sort of comment, and I really think that it comes from. I mean, there seems to be like a lot of hatred out there. Like, it's not just constructive criticism of, like, these are some tips on how you could be a better actor. It's just hate. It's just negativity, and it's just people who seem to enjoy bringing people down. And that seems to exist in society. We like to bitch about people. It makes us, I don't know, feel better about our lives in some way when someone else is not doing very well. So I think we need to introspect and think about where that's coming from. If any of it is even real people and if they're not just bots. Because how can some people write so quickly? Like, I literally post a picture and in seconds, there's like 100 comments, and most of them are bizarre, comments anyway. So I think that online trolling is okay because you need to be strong enough. If you're going to enter the world of Instagram, social media, you need to be prepared. You can't be so nazuk that you can't take what's out there. Otherwise, don't be on Instagram. Like, a lot of people choose not to interact. And I would definitely advise my daughter not to be on Instagram till she's 16 because she's at an impressionable age until that age.
Thank you so much. It was a lovely, lovely chat. All the very best for Chori too.
Thank you so much. Please
Thank
do
you,
see it. Tell us
Sakshi.
what you
Thank
think.
you.